What's up, everybody? Maine Fly Guys. Today with another tutorial. Today we're going to be tying up the glassworm, or the Chaoborus, as some might call it. But glassworms are these little tiny bugs that have these little antennae on top of their head. And so there's one in Maine that I really like to do, and it's this color. This is a sheer 14-aught thread, and it's a kind of a golden brown. I've already attached in, this is just small gold ribbing, alright, and this is a size 14 hook. The glassworms here in Maine get to be anywhere between size 14, some 12s, but mostly 14 to 18, depending on the time of the year. So you definitely want to go right back into the very bend of the hook, because they do have a lot of curvature to their body. Next, I take a piece of, this is just Mirage flashabou, and this is their new kind, and I'm going to show you a neat little trick. So you see it's pretty solid right now. Even when you wrap it, you kind of can't see through it. So there's a way to sort of get around this, and I will show you in a second. So I'm just going to tie everything in and create a little taper. So I'm going to speed this up for you. Alright, so I have a little bit of a taper there. The glassworms, they're pretty much the same length throughout, so you don't want too much of a taper. But, so, now you're going to start wrapping your Mirage flashabou. And before you start wrapping, though, kind of just pull it gently. Not hard and not enough to snap it, but you're kind of stretching it out. And so I just kind of rub my fingers and pull. And when you wrap it, kind of make sure you're wrapping with extra tension. And you'll see that it is now basically translucent, except there's a little purple sheen to it. And this looks just like a glassworm. They don't really have much color to them. You can see their intestinal tract. And that's what I'm using this sort of dark brown as. It's sort of a representation of their internal organs. And the sheen is just kind of that outer protective layer that they have, their body that they are encased in. So you can see it's got a nice brown tint to it. That's a good view right there. But it still has that kind of sheen to it. So it looks very, very similar to a glass glow worm. And so I'll just keep going and wrap all the way up, leaving 1 eye length, maybe 2 eye lengths of room to work the head. And what I like to do is in the front of the glassworm, which maybe I'll show a picture, it changes, the color changes and everything changes. So when I get to this point, I don't pull really hard on the flashabou, and you'll see that there will be a color change right at the front here. Do we see, can we see that on? I bet if we go like that. There's a little bit of a color change there, and that's because I'm not yanking on this flashabou, so it's kind of retaining its mirage-y color. And that is just giving it a slight difference in appearance. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So tie that off. The glassworm is very segmented, and that is why I use the ribbing. And you really want to start at the bend of the hook. It gives it that nice appearance of sort of a wiggling action, which when the glassworms are floating down the stream, or they're floating in the lakes, they do have this nice wiggling action. What it looks like they're trying to swim, even though they're not the best of swimmers. And so here's just a gold ribbing just to give it some segmentation. And then you can just trap that in right at the head. Since I'm using 14-aught thread, it's very, very thin, so I'm doing more wraps around my wire than I normally would, because yeah, it's so fine. So now I'm just going to make a little bit of a head, not a whole lot. Again, they're about the same. They're about the same diameter all the way through the body. So they do have these little antenna things on top of their head, and so what I do here, this is just some flash that has a little bit of a twist to it, So what I do is I tie it in on one side, sort of at the middle of the head, wrap around the back, and then tie it in on the other side. So tie it in on the other side, boom. There we go. Then this back stuff, you want to trim it, so just get that out of there. Trim that. Now don't touch the, so they're just up front, two pieces here, they're just up front for now, so you can go back and sort of catch those back end pieces and then sort of form your head, make sure it's uniform. That looks pretty good right there. Now from here, alright, I'm going to go out front of the antenna, I'm going to pull them back, and you'll see that they kind of prop up, and that's great, but not perfectly. So we'll continue finishing the head out front of them. There we go. And then I'm going to whip finish. So my antenna might not be in the perfect location, and that is okay. Don't worry about that. So whip finish there, finish the head. I sort of work back towards the antenna. 6 or 7 turns there. So now I want these antennae to basically stand straight up. They're very noticeable in this bug when it's in the water. So what I do is I take a drop of glue, of UV glue, and I put it right between the antenna to start, and then I just kind of prop them up with my fingernail or my nail, and I want them basically both straight up. Once I have them in the position, I just kind of zap it with the UV light. You can always come in and change where you want them, but these antennae on this particular insect is very, very small. They're extremely small and very difficult to see. So we're just propping them up right now. And what we're going to do, so that's whatever, that's pretty set. Now what we're going to do is come in and cut them. So they're very, very short, and that looks great. Just like that. So boom, they're kind of off to the side, and they're straight up and down, and they're very, very little. They're basically translucent with a little sheen. They're very hard to see. But they are there, and it is kind of a characteristic that stands out for this particular bug, so I like to put them on there. Now, this is a non-weighted version. You certainly can add weight to the pattern, and I usually do that by just putting a tungsten head, if you guys can see here. There we are, a tungsten head onto it. So these are going out to a customer here in Maine who I hope is going to be very happy with them. And yeah, you can add a tungsten head to them, and that will get them down quicker. But very often they do find themselves just sort of floating in the surface of a lake or in sort of an outlet, and so this can be fished as is. It weighs almost nothing. You fish it kind of like an emerger, and I have great success with it, particularly this color. So I'm giving this gentleman this color, and I hope he does very well with it. So that is it. That's the Glassworm, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. Check us out on Instagram. And if you see a pattern that you like and you want for your own, then feel free to reach out and we can set you up with an order. So thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.